I want to share with you the things that I think were the primary catalysts for my change of approach. And I think it's fair to say that they came late in my career. At the time, they were particularly challenging for me and forced me to confront my character and question why I was playing the game. Eventually, they allowed me to see what was important about playing cricket. And as a consequence, my love of the game returned. Very slowly at first, but then in a flood. The first event was my first test as captain of New Zealand. I'd taken over the captaincy from the team, from Ross Taylor, and to put it mildly, it was a very controversial decision. It was played out constantly in the national media back home. To give you an example of the depth of feeling in New Zealand, the late Martin Crowe, a truly magnificent player, announced to the media that he had burned his New Zealand blazer in disgust. Strong stuff. In early January 2013, we played South Africa at Cape Town. It was a beautiful day, but the pitch at Newlands looked a touch green. I'd read about the tablecloth on the Table Mountain, and if there was no tablecloth, then you bat all day. But if there was cloud on the mountain, then the rule was that you put South Africa in. I stared at the mountain looming over the city, and I saw a bright blue sky, not even one wisp of cloud. So when I went out to the toss, which I didn't often win, with Graham Smith, I decided that if we did happen to get lucky enough to win the toss, we'd bat. I wanted to make a strong statement, particularly to my team, but also to the opposition. We weren't going to be afraid. 19 overs and 2 balls later, we were all out for 45. I'm not sure what happened to the tablecloth, but it felt as if Stain, Morkel and Philander, the only 3 guys that needed to bowl, had whipped it from under us. The 10th lowest total in 2,069 tests. The 10th lowest total in 2,069 tests. What a way to start. If an innings of 45 all out doesn't force you to reconsider what you're doing, I guess nothing will. After returning to my room that evening, there was a knock on my door. It was the coach, Mike Hesson. Soon after, we were joined by Mike Sandel, the manager, and then Bob Carter, the assistant coach. This uninitiated meeting was to play a significant part and was what was to unfold over the next few years. We grabbed a few beers from the fridge and we just talked. We didn't whiteboard it, so to speak. We just spoke from our hearts about who we were as a team and how we were perceived by the public. It was agreed that we were seen as arrogant, we were emotional, we were distant from our public, and we were up ourselves. And we were also uninterested in what our followers thought of us. The environment that the younger players were being welcomed into was really poor. There was a traditional hierarchy where senior players ruled the roost. Ultimately, we concluded that individually and collectively, we lacked character. The key for all of us was the team had no soul. We were full of bluster, but we were soft as putty. It was the first time I'd really stopped to consider, in 13 years of international cricket, how we sat. The significance of what occurred that evening was that we recognised that we had to change. We wanted to personify the traits that we identified in New Zealanders, to be humble, to be hard-working. We wanted to be respected by our long-suffering fans in New Zealand. We wanted to be respected by our opposition, but before we could demand this, we had to learn to respect them. A lot has been written about how the New Zealand team played in subsequent years. I think that no one has captured it better than the former Middlesex captain, Ed Smith. He wrote in an article for Cricinfo, "The manifestations of that contribution are well known: freedom, openness, sportsmanship, the embrace of risk and adventure, and rowing back from the toughness is sledging delusion." The things that work for us may not work for everyone. In changing the way that we approached the game and respected the opposition, we wanted to be true to our national identity. In terms of that, New Zealanders identify with strong, silent types. Perhaps our greatest hero is Sir Edmund Hillary, the first person to climb Everest. He had a chiselled jaw. He never spoke boastfully about his remarkable achievements, and he devoted a considerable part of his life seeking to improve the quality of life of the Nepalese people that he loved so much. In the article I referred to, Ed Smith went on to say, "Athletes and sports teams waste huge space and energy on external motivators, mission statements, about trying to be the best team in the world by 2057, blueprints for global dominance, strategic flowcharts about key performance indicators. In fact, if every sportsman simply tried to be the best that he could be and attempted to behave decently along the way, you've pretty much summed up every available optimal strategy in one simple sentence. After all, you can't be better than your best, and nothing matters more than how you feel about the way that you've lived your life. I couldn't agree more with Ed's comments. He recognised in his article the fact that sports people spend an awful lot of time deep in analysis. Every breath that they take is analysed. Nothing is left to chance. For us as New Zealand cricketers, we wanted to remove all the analysis. We wanted to be blue collar. And we didn't want to be aloof or perceived to be superior. We reduced the various theories that dominated so much of what we did. We planned less. We had fewer team meetings. And we tried to be the very best that we possibly could. We wanted to be a team that New Zealand could be proud of. And if in doubt, we also wanted to play the game aggressively, not fear failure. I've been given far, far too much credit for what we achieved. The approach was taken by every member of our squad. Everyone bought into it, and we lived and we breathed it. And the joy of respecting the opposition was also a revelation. There are times in a game where you simply have to enjoy the skill of the opposition and acknowledge it appropriately. Recently, I played a game for the Gujarat Lions in the IPL. We took on the Royal Challengers Bangalore, who batted first. I won the toss that day too. After 3 overs, RCB were 10 for 1, with Chris Gale back in the pavilion. Solid start. From there, followed a slaughter of our attack. AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli. They broke the world record for the highest T20 partnership, scoring a mammoth 229 runs between them. We tried everything to remove them. We bowled full, we bowled short, we bowled wide, bowled into the pads, so on and so on. The quicks tried taking the pace off the ball. It just seemed that nothing that we could do would work. AB and Virat's batting that day was breathtakingly skillful. Fielding at cover or mid-off for most of the innings as I was, the fan of me, the cricket lover, I had the best seat in the house. Rather than admonish our bowlers for what occurred, this was a time to celebrate genuine mastery. In a similar vein, I was interested to see the reaction to Alistair Cook's very considerable achievement of becoming the youngest player to score 10,000 runs in Test cricket. In an age where superlatives are thrown about willy-nilly, Alistair's achievement is truly remarkable, but much of the coverage that followed focused on whether he could beat Tendulkar's record tally of Test runs, with calculations being undertaken of how many tests he may play, how many runs per season he could score, and a prediction being provided accordingly. It is, I suppose, only natural that people want to speculate in this way. But to me, it just seems a complete waste of time. In doing this, we risk failing to just enjoy the moment, to reflect on what has actually been achieved in the here and the now by a truly, truly fine player.